Drift City, take two. Alright, so apparently there's a European server for Drift City, and that's why EG lost the license. I still wonder if they plan on refunding all Europeans who bought the premium content, but fair enough, at least there's a reason. Anyway, Drift City. It's a massively multiplayer online racer. And no, I don't mean a lobby-based online racer with some sort of semi-persistence to it. I mean a bona fide, open, persistent world, loads of players in the streets, racer. Think Need for Speed Underground 2. Imagine that the open world hub map and all the opponent racers you can challenge are actual players. You got a fair idea of what this game's like. Despite the player versus player being actual street racing does not actually fit into the story, which can be rather odd. Basically, the world is having an energy crisis and we are running out of fossil fuels. But this new fuel called Mitron is discovered on a remote island somewhere. Somehow this fuel is cleaner and more efficient, and somehow putting it in a car makes the car run way better. So, this island is colonized and is now called Mitron Island. The colony, of course, focused on mining this miracle fuel. However, one day these automated cars, called HUVs, appear out of nowhere and start causing road accidents and general havoc. This is where you come in. The Mitron government basically hired a bunch of professional drivers to drive the HUVs off the road because for some stupid reason weapons are not allowed on the island. It's not a bad story by any means, it in fact does deserve points in originality at the very least. But it's kinda silly when you think about it, because the gameplay, this game is a street racer in each and every way. And just like the best street racers out there, you are encouraged to take stupid risks, drive on the wrong side of the road, swerve in really close to cars, catch air. And yet you're supposed to be hired by the government to save this island, and then you're encouraged to be as big a hazard or bigger than these HUVs. It does make me wonder if the government have planted explosives all over your car just in case the HUVs get dealt with. Think about it. Unlike Need for Speed, the world map is not just a hub to get from one race to another. It is in fact a huge part of the gameplay. Pretty much the entire PvE aspect of the game, in fact. You actually get missions that can be pretty varied, and just like any MMO out there, the first quests you do are the epic equivalent to that of hunting rat tails. First mission, in fact, has you collecting bread from the bakery, and soon you'll be taking your instructor out for ice cream and toy shopping, and I'm not kidding. But eventually, once you've proven yourself worthy, the real fun begins, and you'll be tailing suspect vehicles, smashing into HUVs, and patrolling the streets. Hell, you even get to go trucking at some point when you're ordered to drive a fuel truck. Missions come in 5 varieties. There's the main missions which progress the story of the game, and can be just about anything. There's delivery missions, which are time trials, and you compete with the rest of the world to get the best delivery times. There's instant missions, where you'll get randomly paged, and then asked to do something trivial like compete in a PvP race, swerve past 10 cars, sell something on auction, etc. And there's the HUV chases. You'll get randomly paged again, and should you accept them, you'll have to chase down and smash into 1 to 3 HUVs. The HUV missions get much harder and much more fun with a party of multiple players. There's actually some sort of dungeon type thing called the Underworld, where you have to hunt down a certain number of HUVs. It's supposed to be hard and a lot of fun. Pretty epic, in fact. But frankly, I don't want to review high-level content because I'm sick of reviews getting me excited to play an MMO, only to find out that you need to play for like 3 or 4 months before getting to any of the fun stuff, and therefore getting bored way before that ever happens. And so, I'm going to review the parts you're actually going to play, and we'll leave those bits for you to discover should you put the time into the game. Call it lazy reviewing if you want, but basically, I'm calling this realistic reviewing. Anyway, graphically, the game shines. Well, not literally, in fact it's very unshiny, but it's cel-shaded. And I, for one, am a sucker for cel shading. It does take getting used to, though. If you've just come from the Need for Speed Underground games, well, wait for it, this game is daytime, and has actual color beyond random neon lights. You have been warned. But overall, they do look great. And of course, customizing your car is a million times more satisfying in an MMO racer than is in Need for Speed. Especially when you can do this. Honestly, how awesome is that? This car is sponsored by AltTab Reviews and Underdog Reviews. Anyway, as is usual for an online game like this, there is premium content. It's not all that bad. There are some spoilers, wheels, and booster upgrades that give Pays an unfair advantage. But in a street racing game like this, somehow, I'm more satisfied with having a unique car than a powerful one. Go figure. But honestly, from what I have played, I've not exactly run into an overly pimped out car that I can't outrace. There is one thing I want to complain about, though. It certainly could be worse, but basically, certain paint jobs, neon lights, spoilers, and other features are timed. Meaning you will have them for a week, and then they expire and you got to repurchase them. It's annoying because they're not exactly cheap. But you can play the game without them, so they don't exactly ruin the experience if you can't afford them. But the game is far more satisfying when your car looks pimped, so keep that in mind. The community, for the most part, is pretty decent. I've not been randomly insulted, called a fag or noob, suspected of hacking in versus races, so that actually says a lot for the community. Although when it comes to crossing paths in the overworld, they tend to ignore you and not swerve around you. For the most part though, players do not deter from the experience, which is a lot more than can be said about these types of online games, unfortunately. Anyways, I really should point out a few things. Obviously, this is not the EG version of Drift City I reviewed. This is a German host called 7G Games. For the most part, the review could apply to both versions of the game. The only main differences I'd want to point out are: EG's community kinda sucks. Sorry about that, but in that version, before the ban, I was called a noob fag hacker. And also, the premium system for EG also sucks majorly. Pretty much none of the customization that I am doing in the 7G version could be done without G-Coin. So frankly, thank you EG for the ban, I'm playing a far superior version. And Europeans, you will too. So, in conclusion, well, it can get a bit repetitive, but they did a damn good job at mostly every aspect of this game. Americans get the EG version, still good fun. Europeans get the 7G version, it's better. Unless of course you really dislike arcade style racing, I highly suggest this game. It's new, it's interesting, it's great, it's really good fun.